This morning, I'm going to be speaking with Pattie Lovett-Reid. She's been a highly respected financial expert, former chief financial commentator for CTV News, and a sought-after speaker on personal finance and wealth management. She's spent decades helping Canadians navigate everything from market volatility to retirement planning, always with a sharp eye for the bigger economic picture. Pattie, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Giselle, that's probably the nicest introduction I have ever had.
Oh,
thank you.
I love it.
Thank you. And I'm going to say happy International Women's Day because I do think there is so much that we have going for us. Still a lot to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So first, I wanted to ask you, during these, uncertain times, how should Canadians be managing their financial affairs on a day-to-day basis?
Well, what I can tell you is people are taking stock of where they're at financially. This didn't happen overnight. It's been bubbling up. And those that I speak to, and I get a lot of direct messages on Instagram, should I bail out of my portfolio? Should I move to the sidelines? What should I do? Should I try to find another job? And I'm saying, let's step back and look at your situation on an individual basis. Sure, I think a lot of people are cutting out discretionary spending, and that makes sense. There's so much uncertainty. So with uncertainty comes caution. Budgets work. People know how much money they have coming in. They don't always know what they're spending their money on. And so taking a minute to say, okay, here's where we can cut back for now. I do know many are proudly Canadian and shopping Canadian, supporting Canadian. And travel south of the border in February was a flop. And people are really re-examining the things they have going for them here in Canada. You have to factor in develop. Just say one more thing. The Canadian dollar, it's not great. And so you want your dollar to go as far as it can, and that likely means spending in Canada.
Right. Absolutely. That makes sense. What specifically do you think women need to do to manage their finances day to day? What are things that women could be doing better on the finance front?
Women are very capable. They are climbing the corporate ladder. Entrepreneurship is growing. And I can also tell you educational levels are soaring. I'll use my mother. She's 92 in a couple of weeks. And when my father passed away, my first father, my biological father, passed away at 36. I once said in an interview, Mom is struggling. She doesn't know where she stands financially. And in fact, it was with the Toronto Star. My mother read the article. She demanded a retraction. No, she didn't make me do it, but it certainly forced us to have a conversation. And back then, the conversation was around, I'm very capable. Your father and I had a division of labor. He did look after the money. But don't think for a minute I can't step in and do it, and I will. And so I often find that women will tell me that they do have control of the situation. They are aware of what's going on. Statistics will suggest that they will be entirely responsible for their financial future at some point in their life. And so it is absolutely critical. So fast forward to Mom being 92 in a couple of weeks, when my stepfather, and it's a much better story to tell if I said he was my wicked stepfather, but he wasn't.
Okay.
He, wonderful, wonderful man. I said, Mom, you're in your 80s. I will step in and help you. And she looked at me and said, when I need help, I will ask you, have we not had this conversation before? Yes, actually we have, Mom. Now, I am power of attorney. I do some transactions, but not without her consent first. And we're lucky she's in that position. So my point is, I think for women, no one's going to care about you and your financial future than you. It doesn't mean you have to do it all, but you have to be involved in it all.
Right. That's very good advice. I mean, it's funny. I'm thinking the conversations that you were having with your mom. Can't you say, don't you know who I am? I'm Pattie Lovett-Reid.
Very, very quickly, I will tell you, my mom kept asking me to manage her portfolio or give her guidance on it. I was hesitant to do so. I would have put her in mutual funds. She's a stock picker. But anyway, she called into a radio show I was on and said, "Hi, it's Joyce Fraser." I said, "As in my mother?" And she said, "Yes, you won't answer me at home, so I'll ask you here." I wish that wasn't a true story. It is. She is a character.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. True story.
What do you think? What are your thoughts about, for a lot of people, they're saying 20% of the population, 20% of the people who have to renew their mortgages have to renew them this year. So what advice would you have for people who are looking at a mortgage renewal this year?
Well, that is a really tough question. Variable rate mortgages appear to be back in vogue. We've heard from two big economists on Bay Street, both Bank of Montreal and RBC, depending which way we go with these tariffs. And they, quite frankly, have flip-flopped all over the place. But if 25% stay intact, they're of the belief that the Bank of Canada will cut rates by 25 basis points at least 4 more times this year, taking the bank rate down to around 2%. So for some looking for reprieve, a variable rate is the way to go. For others but the thing is, we don't know for sure. I got to put a caveat on this. And you know this better than anyone.
Well, it's funny.
If inflation ticks higher, rates are going up.
Well, it's funny because I was just thinking, the next bank rate announcement is March the 12th. And so I'm like, for sure.
Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly. For definitely rates are coming down. Like, to me, that's a for sure. And by the way, I have to renew my mortgage in a couple of weeks.
Is it personal? Yeah.
But so...
Yeah, but so we're all watching, and so there's no question the Bank of Canada is very cognizant of what's going on. We also have to take into effect that, the government will step in, I'm assuming, and already starting to see a little bit of support for businesses that could be impacted. Households will be impacted. Financially, I thought the pandemic was a health crisis that turned into a financial crisis. This is very serious, what's going on in the U.S. Hundreds of thousands of people could lose their jobs. And this is a big deal. And so we're all watching it very closely to see how it actually unfolds. And the problem is it changes day to day.
Yes, absolutely. Let's switching gears a little bit to parents and the RESP program. For a lot of parents who, they're trying to save for their child's education, what are your thoughts about the registered education savings plan for parents? Can you tell us a little bit of your thoughts about that program?
Sure. I can tell you we have 4 adult children. We had RESPs for all of them, and they all went through post-secondary education. It served a double purpose for us. One, it was obviously for savings for their education, and the government grant certainly helped. But I believe strongly in the expectancy theory. I'm expecting you to take some form of post-secondary education. Here's how we're saving for it. And let's keep you up to date on what's going on with it. And it seemed to work. I can tell you that we have almost 9 grandchildren. Twins are about to be born in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
And I know, insane. And when the first one was born, I said to my husband, because I don't have a university degree, and it was so important that we talk about not necessarily university, but post-secondary education. Because in my opinion, especially on International Women's Day, education is this great equalizer. And so I said, I'm not going to be that grandparent that buys them another designer outfit, the toy of the year, whatever. But I am going to contribute to their education and fund their post-secondary education to the extent that we can. Now, that was when we had 1. I didn't know we were going to have 9 and probably 10.
Right.
But the point is still there that, to me, it is critically important. I don't think the children or even the grandchildren appreciate it today, but I know they will one day.
Perfect.
And so I'm sticking to it. Now, don't get me wrong, DeVille. I got to tell you, I can still give a nice gift. I can still be the fun Nana. But I'm very focused on education, and I do like that plan. And I think it's great for grandparents and parents.
That's perfect. I love that. Pattie, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I really appreciate it. We'll have to have you back again.
I hope so. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.